People around the world frequently go missing, with most of them being ordinary people. But history has recorded several times where prominent figures have disappeared too. These are people who became famous from Hollywood, the music industry, professional sports, and politics, indicating that no one is entirely immune from vanishing. Although it is assumed that the many on this list who have been missing for decades are presumed dead, the absence of their body continues to pose the ultimate mystery. So here are the celebrities that disappeared and have never been found. Jean Spangler was a dancer and model striving for success in Hollywood in 1948. She had recently begun acting and had had several bit parts in movies like The Miracle of the Bells and Young Man with the Horn when she mysteriously disappeared at the age of 27 on October 7, 1949. A few days after her disappearance, her handbag was found in Griffith Park in Los Angeles, and it contained a cryptic note addressed to someone named Kirk. The note suggested she could no longer wait and intended to visit a doctor. Spangler had just finished working on a movie that starred Kirk Douglas. This led to public speculation that he was the one mentioned in the note, but Kirk Douglas himself called the police and denied even knowing Spangler. Despite efforts to find her, Jean Spangler's whereabouts still remain unknown. Michael Rockefeller, a fourth-generation member of the illustrious Rockefeller family, was the son of Nelson Rockefeller, who served as the governor of New York and later as U.S. vice president under Gerald Ford. Michael embarked on an expedition organized by Harvard's Peabody Museum of Archaeology to study the indigenous tribes of New Guinea. He was last seen on November 17, 1961, when he and a Dutch anthropologist, Rene Wassing, capsized in their boat off the coast of New Guinea. It is believed Rockefeller succumbed to exhaustion while attempting to swim to shore, but his body never washed up, and it's never been found. He was officially declared dead in 1964. Jimmy Hoffa, a labor organizer and former president of the Teamsters Union, was known for his associations with organized crime and faced several legal challenges, including charges of fraud, jury tampering, and conspiracy. On July 30, 1975, after going to a restaurant to meet with two mobsters, Hoffa called his wife to let her know they didn't show up. And after hanging up the phone, he disappeared. Although it is widely believed that he was murdered by the mafia, the location of his final resting place is what captured the public's fascination, leading to many unusual theories about where he is buried. Richie Edwards was the guitarist and lyricist for the Welsh rock band Manic Street Preachers during the mid-1990s. Edwards was described as a lightning rod for adolescent angst, noting both his significant influence on youth culture and also his struggles with depression. When he disappeared in February of 1995, many initially thought it was just one of his eccentric stunts, as he was scheduled to tour with the band in the US. However, Edwards never resurfaced, and his car was later found abandoned near a bridge in the UK, connecting England to Wales. In 2008, Richie Edwards was officially declared dead, although his body was never recovered. Connie Converse was a singer-songwriter in New York City during the 1950s. After unsuccessful attempts to gain recognition for her music, she left the city and moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where she worked as a writer and editor for the University of Michigan's Journal of Conflict Resolution. When the publication moved to Yale, Converse lost her job, and by 1973, she had fallen into a deep depression. In 1974, she wrote personal letters to her family and friends, expressing her intent to start a new life somewhere else, and then suddenly she was never heard from again. Decades after her disappearance, her music gained recognition after it was discovered and featured on a 2004 radio show. By March 2009, a compilation album called How Sad, How Lovely was released, giving Converse the recognition she had never found in the 1950s. Jim Sullivan, a singer-songwriter with great potential, moved to Los Angeles in the late 1960s. He released his album UFO in 1969, which was noted for its unique blend of country, folk, and rock influences, but it failed to have any commercial success. Sullivan ran in the same circles as actor Dennis Hopper, which led to him landing an uncredited role in the film Easy Rider. But on March 4th, 1975, Jim Sullivan set off for Nashville in his Volkswagen Beetle, but he never arrived. He was pulled over by police in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, but he passed a sobriety check and was let go. He spent the night at a motel, and the next day his car was found abandoned 26 miles south of Santa Rosa. Inside the car was his money, documents, guitar, and a box of unsold records. Sullivan disappeared without a trace and has not been seen since, with some suggesting it may have been an alien abduction, considering his first album was called UFO. Elenia Kesi was the daughter of famous Italian actors and musicians, and was herself an aspiring novelist. She also acted and appeared in a film with her parents, and worked as a letter turner on the Italian version of Wheel of Fortune. After traveling alone to Belize around Christmas in 1993, she then decided to go to New Orleans, and this was the last time she was seen. The last reported sighting of Kesi was in the French Quarter on January 6, 1994. A security guard claimed to have seen a young woman who resembled her jump into the Mississippi River after saying, "I belong in the water." The Coast Guard did an extensive search, but a body was never found. 2 years later, an anonymous call came in to police saying that Kesi was still alive, but her whereabouts were never found. In 2014, Elenia Kesi was declared presumed dead at her father's request. Scott Smith was the bassist for the band Loverboy, which found fame in the 1980s with hits like This Could Be the Night and Working for the Weekend. But he vanished in 2000 during a boating trip. In November of that year, Smith and his friends set sail from Vancouver to Mexico. As they neared San Francisco, a massive wave swept him off his 37-foot sailboat. The others on board were down below when it happened, but frantically looked for signs of life in the water. The Coast Guard also performed an extensive search of the area, but they too found no trace of him. Scott Smith's body has never been found, leaving the circumstances of his death a mystery. Barbara Follett was a young novelist in the 1920s who achieved remarkable success by the age of 14, having published 3 books. As an adult, she went on adventures, including sailing, hiking the Appalachian Trail, and traveling throughout Europe. After she married, her writing career declined, and her husband's infidelity led her into a deep depression. In 1939, following an argument with her husband, she left their apartment in Boston with only $30 and a notebook and was never to be seen again. Her husband waited 2 weeks to contact police, and Follett's mother remained suspicious of him until her own death, but no evidence was ever found. Glenn Miller, the famous big band leader during the swing era of the 1940s, also served in the U.S. Army Air Force during World War II. On December 13, 1944, he was ordered to fly from London to Paris to perform with his band. Bad weather caused delays, and he couldn't catch a flight until December 15th. He boarded the military plane with 2 others, but it never made it to Paris. Neither wreckage nor remains were ever found in the English Channel, leaving Miller's fate unknown. 75 years later, authorities began considering a possible recovery after a fisherman reported finding an aircraft wreck off the coast of England in 1987. He allowed the wreck to sink back into the ocean, but later realized it may have matched the description of Miller's plane. So he then contacted authorities. So far, the wreckage has not been able to be recovered, so it still remains a mystery. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and please consider subscribing and sharing Recollection Road Entertainment with someone you know. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching this playlist. As always, thank you so much for watching.